What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, guys, I want to start getting into a little bit more of NBA, but in today's video we're going to go ahead and break down the Donte Divincenzo news that has kind of been bouncing around this whole season, but lately there has been a little bit of more reports coming out. I also just want to go ahead and mention that this video is basically based off of this Bleacher Report article by Paul Casabian. I probably said that completely wrong, but oh well. So thank you to Paul for making this article. Mainly, Brett Siegel of Clutch Points went ahead and said Donte Divincenzo is being viewed as a possible trade candidate for several contending teams around the league. While the Timberwolves valued Divincenzo's skill set, the 27-year-old combo guard was not thrilled with the idea of coming off the bench after being traded. For a second apron team like Minnesota, moving Divincenzo could help create a little bit of flexibility and a path to moving out of the second apron next offseason. The Timberwolves just acquired Donte Divincenzo and Julius Randle for Karl-Anthony Towns on October 2nd. So this report is a surprising development fewer than 2 months after the ex-Villanova star landed in Minneapolis. As of now, when I am recording this, Donte Divincenzo is averaging 25.9 minutes per game, but he has not started a single one, which is kind of the main reason why Divincenzo is being proposed as a trade target right now. He is not happy with coming off the bench right now. If you take a look at the Minnesota depth chart, they've currently got Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert as their starting five. Mike Conley was ruled out for today's game against the Celtics, and I'm recording this video before that game. I know when this goes up, that game will have already ended, so maybe we'll see a new rotation idea, but I highly doubt we see any movement tonight against the Celtics. Divincenzo is currently playing as the backup 2, but as you guys may know, that does mean he is playing right behind one of the best players in the league, Anthony Edwards. Edwards is averaging 37.1 minutes played per game with 27.9 points per game. This guy is an absolute beast. But because of that, that limits Donte Divincenzo's minutes per game as well. Divincenzo is averaging 9.5 points per game this season with 3.3 assists and 3.1 rebounds. Although Divincenzo's having a rough start to this year, last year he's coming off a crazy good season. Actually, a career-high season for him with 15.5 points per game. He also had 2.7 assists and 3.7 rebounds last season with the Knicks. He started 63 of the 81 games that he played last year for New York, and we're currently through 15 games with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he has not started a single one. Now, there are a lot of speculations of teams that Donte Divincenzo could land on, but the main one that is sticking out to absolutely everyone in the NBA community is the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors currently have a starting lineup of Stephen Curry, Lindy Waters, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, and Trayce Jackson-Davis. Now, you might have noticed I said Lindy Waters at the 2, which is pretty wild. That is mainly because DeAnthony Melton is out for the season. He actually ended up tearing his ACL, so that is a huge loss for this Warriors team. If you were to bring in a player like Donte Divincenzo, he could start at that 2 for you, and this would also mean that he'd be reuniting with one of his old teams. Donte Divincenzo averaged 9.4 points per game with the Warriors in 2022 to the 23 season. He also started 36 of their 72 games, but that doesn't really mean anything because if he were to go to Golden State right now, I could guarantee you he'd be getting that starting spot. However, one of the biggest issues of this trade would be that Brandon Podziemski would probably lose minutes. Podziemski is only averaging 23.3 minutes per game, but he is also having a really rough start to the season with 7.2 points per game. Now, he is averaging quite a bit of assists with 3.2 and then total rebounds of 4.5. But I would assume that this wouldn't be that big of an issue because Podziemski would more than likely just come off the bench for the Warriors, especially with him having a really rough start to the season. He'd probably be playing that backup 2 with Donte Divincenzo playing that starting position. With that said, the starting lineup for the Warriors after this trade would more than likely be Stephen Curry, Donte Divincenzo, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green, and Trayce Jackson-Davis. And the Warriors right now are currently a contending team in the NBA. They are actually first in the Western Conference as I'm recording this. They're at 12-4. Honestly, a really solid team. And I'm sure Donte Divincenzo wouldn't be mad at joining them at all. Siegel also went on to say this in his article. The Minnesota Timberwolves just acquired Donte Divincenzo in their blockbuster trade with Karl-Anthony Towns and the New York Knicks. And head coach Chris Finch is very fond of the combo guard's abilities on both ends of the court. The problem is that his role has fluctuated since arriving in Minnesota, and the Timberwolves are struggling at 8-7 overall. Should tensions continue to rise, various teams around the league will be monitoring Divincenzo's availability. He was a player the Warriors really wanted to keep before he signed a 4-year deal with the Knicks in 2023. I'm going to go ahead and show some screenshots of some possible trade ideas that people have posted on Fanspo, but one of them really sticks out to me as probably the best of the three. It'd be Donte Divincenzo for Gary Payton, Lindy Waters, a 2026 second rounder, a 2028 second rounder, and a 2031 second rounder. This way, the Warriors wouldn't have to give up Pajemski, and although he is having a rough start to the season, we all know that he is a high potential player that the Warriors are probably not willing to give up. But if the Warriors were to give up Peyton, Waters, it probably would not be enough. But since they added in 3 second-round picks, I think that this would be a solid trade, and I think both teams would accept. However, you guys got to let me know in the comments because I'm neither a Warriors or a Timberwolves fan, so you guys got to let me know your guys' opinions on these trade ideas. Now here's a picture of a comparison between all of the shooting guards on the Warriors roster and Donte Divincenzo. Divincenzo obviously stands out as one of the best players between these 5. He's averaging the most points per game between all of them with 9.5 points per game. Not in that rebound category as Pajemski does out-rebound him, but he is second. He does lead in assists, he does lead in steals, and he does lead in blocks. And then the shooting is pretty much even all around. Gary Payton does have a higher shooting percentage, but it's probably because he doesn't take as many shots in games. He doesn't get as many minutes, so that is fair to say. Overall, I think Divincenzo would be the best shooting guard on the roster if he were to be added, assuming that all of these other guys would stay in Golden State, which probably wouldn't happen. With all that said, there is obviously a possibility Divincenzo goes absolutely nowhere and that he would just stay in Minnesota. I personally don't think that this will happen because of the rotation that Minnesota's currently got. Divincenzo's just not getting enough minutes, he's not starting enough games for this team, and Anthony Edwards will always be playing over him. Let's say Chris Finch does find a solution for this Minnesota Timberwolves rotation. Divincenzo could be the solution for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're at 8-7 right now, but I feel like Divincenzo could be the reason that this team would become a lot better. But on the other side of things, he could shock the world and end up getting traded after only being in Minnesota for 2 months. Obviously, I don't think this trade would come until around the trade deadline, but as of now, I would 100% say that they are losing this Karl Anthony Towns trade. As of now, Donte Divincenzo is still on the Minnesota Timberwolves roster, so we don't want to get ahead of ourselves because Chris Finch might find a solution. I'm just saying, Minnesota Timberwolves have a great core, and they can go all the way if they would like to. Let me know in the comments below your guys' thoughts. Let me know if you guys think the Warriors would do any of these trades, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.